and welcome back to another edition of the KU Tweets and News podcast. I am your host, Lane Stanberry.
Yep, and co-host Parker Titus here.
And we really had another grinded out game, and sorry for that noise, my cat just knocked over my keyboard. But we had a really grinded out game. KU really wasn't scoring. They went down as many as 8 in the, I believe, first half. But they made just enough shots and made just enough plays on the defense to get the win, despite all intentions to give the game away at the free throw line. So let's talk about it. It really looked like KU might throw the game away again because we were in a very similar situation. We had a bigger lead than we did against Texas, but we were in a very similar situation in that we were up, 5-6 with like a minute to play. All we had to do is really make free throws and because at this point, they're going to be jacking threes, so just guard the line. Hopefully the shots don't go in and make your free throws and you're good. We didn't do either of those things. They made all those tough shots. We didn't make free throws. But we really came out with little energy as well, but we battled back, made just enough shots to get the win. And after some horrible free throw shooting, Jordan Goldwire, who we will talk about later, made an amazing 3-point shot from way deep. And then DeJuan Harris turned the ball over, not really turnover because it should have been a kicked ball. It was obviously a kicked ball that didn't get called, but we were able to hold in the last possession. KJ Adams with a great contest on a long 2 from Goldwire, which is really the shot you want the opponent to take. And the Jayhawks escaped with the win, 71-69. But one of probably the biggest performance from the Jayhawks, that probably won't show up in the stat sheet is Zach Clemence. Came off the bench his first game since Lubbock, Texas. So Parker, tell me about Zach Clemence.
Yeah, so Zach came in and we heard in the press game, Bill said, "Hey, Zach, go in and I want you to guard the pick and pop. And then also don't shoot it unless you're open," is what he told
Wide
him.
open, I think is what he told him.
Yep. So, but he did come in and he guarded the pick and pop well enough where Groves never scored again once Clements came in, which was pretty amazing. And then he made that huge 3 when he was kind of wide open, and it was like a logo ball too. Yep, and it was a long shot, but it went in, and he was pretty pumped. So it's just interesting how he's been out for a while with the foot or the toe, whatever it was, and he comes in and does really well. Whereas we see Pettiford, not do well off of his injury. Yeah. And so it's really interesting how, and I know the big man is a little bit different than handling the ball all the time, like Pettiford was as a point guard. But so that kind of proved that he can rebound as well. I think he had 3 rebounds in his 9 minutes, which almost tied our other 2 bigs, which is insane, being Lightfoot and McCormick. So I mean, in my opinion, I think this earns him a little bit more playing time depending on the matchup. I don't see Self putting him in when, he's trying to guard like a Bryson Williams type or, if
Bryson Williams is like spotting up a lot,
maybe,
or if they try to do that top of the key pick and pop, but
right. Yeah, potentially. So yeah, he was great.
Yeah. And to think that his first practice in over a month came on Thursday, the Thursday before the game, that's just wild. Like I'm hoping that this means that he gets to be in Bill Self's trust tree because honestly, Zach Clemence and KJ Adams are both better than Mitch Lightfoot. And they're also, I feel like they're more dependable than Mitch Lightfoot. Like Mitch Lightfoot has games. Like you're like, you find out really quickly if it's a Mitch Lightfoot game or not. And the thing is, I don't think you have to take that. You don't have to give that 5 minutes to Zach or KJ to decide if it's one of their games. You know what you're going to get from them every time they come out onto the floor. And I'm just so glad that KU has Dirk Nowitzki on their team. So I'm really excited to see. And not only that, he rebounded really well. He rebounded so well.
Right.
And of course, Paul Bunyan came out and made like 3 or 4 3-pointers over Dave and Mitch Lightfoot. And surprisingly, he's not Super Saiyan of the game, but he came out and made 3 or 4 3-pointers right over our bigs. And I was like, great. Like I texted Parker, I was like, if those threes are going in, I don't know how I feel about this. But Zach did a great job coming in as a freshman after 2 days of practice. So I'm really happy with him. But speaking of the Super Saiyan game, let's get
he's going to be a stud.
He is. Now for the Super Saiyan of the game. Despite not averaging double figures and 22% from 3, Jordan Goldwire, 9 of 16, 2 of 3 from 3, 20 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Deep NBA range 3 to put the game within 3 and give OU a chance near the end. It was a career high for Jordan Goldwire, because when you need to go Super Saiyan, you wait until you play the Kansas Jayhawks. Jordan Goldwire, transfer from Duke, known for his defense. Please throw all that out the window. You better be shooting all of them threes, especially if you're shooting 22%. And you know how you put that in perspective? Remember how bad Marcus Garrett was shooting 3-pointers when he was a freshman or sophomore? Imagine Marcus Garrett pulling from NBA range down 6 and nailing it. Imagine.
I can't.
That is what happened.
Imagine that.
That is what happened.
Goldwire had an amazing game. You know, he played pretty well versus us the first time. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting because DeJuan was on him most of the game, because I believe Ochai was matched up on Gibson, who had 0, which was interesting as well.
Amazing.
So I don't know, where it falls. I know he was in the pick and roll mostly. So, and a lot of it was, we were worried about Tanner Groves stepping out and hitting the 3. We saw, the bigs help a little bit and then sprint back, and then that put us in a bad position. So he got like wide open layups. So we just need to rotate better on defense. And, we do. And I feel like he'd only go for 12, 14 instead of 20. So
and I still think that's probably going to be his best performance of his career. It is what it is. At least think the way, this is how I'm thinking about it. We're not even going to talk about Tanner Groves, because he did what we expected him to do. He had like 15, 16 points, made like 3 threes, 4 threes, something like that. And so Tanner Groves is making threes. I guess Emoji Gibson was blanked, but Jordan Goldwire is making shots. Harkless was making threes. That's not typically what he does. So other than Emoji Gibson was effectively neutralized by Ochai Agbaji, but literally everything in terms of on offense for Oklahoma was working. And it's not, and I thought KU defended quite poorly, but when you're forcing, if Jordan Goldwire pulls a 3 on you, you're thinking, okay, we're probably going to get a rebound on this one. I'm sure, like when you're playing, you see this guy and he's 22% and he jacks up a 3 and you're like, yes, we got the shot we wanted, and it goes in. You're just going to say, okay, shrug, whatever, So I think it's a good thing to know that Tanner Groves was balling out, Harkless was balling out, Goldwire was balling out, and KU was still able to come away with the win, even with Ochai Agbaji not scoring a ton of points. But someone who did score a ton of points was Jalen Wilson. Tell me about Jalen Wilson.
Right. So his stat line read 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. His finishing ability was elite this game. Through contact, never got a call, didn't need one. He would finish and, had a really good game. Made a big 3 when we were down, I believe 5, and closed the gap a little bit more. But yeah, he's been great during conference play. There's been chatter on Twitter and on message boards about, is he a first team guy right now? And right now, I mean, if you just look at the Big 12 numbers, he's definitely a consideration for first team all Big 12, just by the way he's been playing, the way he's been leading, and not only in scoring, but rebounding. And right now he may be the best ball handler KU has.
Yeah. And Bill Self was asked about that in the post game, and he said, well, you have to think about it. Is Jalen Wilson one of the 5 best players in the conference? And is he better than Brockington? Is he better than, Akinjo? Is he better than Bryson Williams? And because Bill Self seemed to think that he had to all first team Big 12s and Christian Brown and Ochai Agbaji. But I think right now, with how well Jalen Wilson has been rebounding, I'm sorry, my cat's in the way. With how well Jalen Wilson's been rebounding, as well as how well he's been shooting it, just from the free throw line, from three, from and through contact, he's just playing insanely well. And
like
it's welcome
70%
sight
from two.
Yeah, because we needed him.
He was like 70% from two right now, which is pretty insane in conference play. I mean, he's really just been an all-star at this point. And, you know, I know I'm posing the question is why, you know, he's almost, I mean, outside of DeJuan, he's probably our second best ball handler if we don't have Remy available.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He's been great passing the ball. Obviously defense can get a little bit better, but he's 6'8", guarding, you know, point guards and stuff. So to me, that's really impressive. And, you know, I think about it as, you know, Mitch is only 6'8" as well. He's a little more athletic than Jalen, but you know, Jalen's about the same size as Mitch Lightfoot. Think about that. So it's pretty crazy what he can do with his size and length and quickness.
Yeah, Jalen Wilson has been awesome. And, you know, we've kind of talked about like what happens, you know, when Remy comes back and he gets in the starting lineup. The person that you most likely bring to the bench is either Harris or Jalen Wilson. But man, Jalen Wilson is playing so well. Like, Remy is, if it's me, if I'm the coach, Harris to the bench, Martin in as the starting point guard. But we know Bill Self is not going to do that. So that it presents a really tough thing. And I'm already rubbing my face to my forehead just in irritation, knowing that Bill Self likely will not insert Remy Martin into the starting lineup even when he's 100% because he just loves DeJuan Harris, which we're about to talk about.
Well, who's he going in for?
Oh, stop. Just stop. You know what?
I'm so sick of these people.
Yeah. So let's talk about Harris. Here comes the debate again. It just keeps going. You know, he has like a couple good plays, and then I always get the people on mentions like, see, maybe the Harris haters can be quiet. And I'm not a Harris hater. I think he has games where he's excellent, but he also has games where he's just very, very average. Like he doesn't give you anything that's going to make you win. I guess he doesn't, you know, maybe he doesn't turn the ball over a ton. I don't know, but he didn't really do much on defense except making that one huge play on the post entry where he skied for the steal. That was a huge play at a very critical juncture of the game. So that was pretty huge. And he also flipped in a couple floaters and layups when the team really needed a bucket. So that was important. 6 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers with 1 probably should be subtracted because of the poor kicked ball miss. Yeah. But this is what we can expect from him. He's never going, like, he can maybe score you 12 points if he's having a good day, but he's never going to win you the game. He won't lose you the game most of the time, but he's never going to win you the game. And that's why I think, you know, Ochai Agbaji can probably do that for you, but that's why I think you're going to have to get Remy Martin in there playing the crunch time minutes when you need a bucket, especially if Ochai, like he did yesterday, has a little bit of an off shooting night.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at Ochai's numbers and they've gone dramatically down with the time that Remy has been out. You know, Remy was he'd attract the defense. You know, the defense is playing off of Harris, just knowing that his shot takes 10 million years to fire up, so they can.
It is a slow shot too, and he kind of just like flips it up there. It's kind of weird.
Which he's capable of making, but he doesn't really take it much because the defender's already there when he tries to get it off. So with Remy in, they have to respect his 3 so they don't play off as much, and they have to help down on his playmaking, which opens it up for Ochai.
Because he's also super quick and can go around anybody and can pass to anybody at any time.
And if they're going to try to face guard Ochai, Remy's going to go around. DeJuan's not as good as going around and finishing at the rim. It's just
DeJuan can't go around to anybody. Sorry. It's okay. Yeah. He can go to the side of people and try to do that little shot where he flips the ball on the side, like off either off the backboard or off the or literally just in it, and it swishes a lot. Kind of like that shot you had against Iowa State. He can do that, but that's a tough shot. Yeah. He is never, ever, ever. I'm sorry. Again, I love DeJuan Harris, but he is never, ever, ever going to get behind somebody.
Right.
and get to the rim.
He's never really had an easy shot that hasn't been in transition, like at the rim. Like,
and
ever.
like if you watch Remy Martin, he's really like he'll be really high, like near the logo, and teams will basically play defense on the 3-point line. And that gives Remy enough space to really get going and get around somebody. And then he always gets those layups where he finger rolls it. That's his thing. He can do that against anybody in the nation. So that is automatically a huge offensive threat, and he's also a good free throw shooter. But again, I like DeJuan Harris, but Remy Martin has way more upside. Again, like just in general, and he's going to learn defense. I have faith that he will be a much better defender than he was in the non-con when it comes to games that really matter, like games like against Baylor or games against in the Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament. I have a lot of faith that he'll defend well in those games. And let's just talk real quick about Ochai Agbaji. Like, he didn't have a huge like a huge game. He had 11 points, I think it was. He had some rebounds, but he did lock up Mo Gibson. So I think, you know, it from a scoring perspective, not his best game, but he dominated on the defensive end. And I mean, Kay, you got the win. So I don't think, you know, it's obviously he's averaging 20 points a game. He's going to be better than that. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about.
Yeah, I'd agree. You know, teams are just learning to face guard him because, well, if we make somebody else beat us, we have a chance, I think, is what they're thinking. Yeah. And as long
once
as
you get Remy Martin in there,
they won't be able
they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, some possessions we really are playing 4-on-5 with, you know, them just playing completely off of DeJuan Harris at times.
And people get upset about that and look at our offensive rating and say, look, we're not playing 4-on-5. And it's just like, you realize we have possibly the best offensive player in the nation.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to make sense that we probably will play pretty well.
Yeah, we have the best trio of wings in America, hands down. I mean, there's no really arguing that. It's just, you know, how are those wings going to play? They need a playmaker. Sometimes Harris can be that. Sometimes he can't because they play off of him so much. Going under screens and all that makes it harder.
Yeah. And you know, again, I think DeJuan Harris is a fine point guard. And I think he'll be good enough to win you games against decent teams. I don't think he's a guy that you can play 40 minutes against Purdue or Gonzaga. But let's talk about around the Big 12. Texas Tech, they were down 13 in the first half, battled back to beat TCU on their home floor, 82-69. Where might Tech be ranked next week?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of top 10 ranked teams lost, so it'll be really interesting to see where people get shuffled.
It's so hard
in the
to
rankings.
say. Yeah. Number 10 Baylor takes down Texas 80-63. Texas looked garbage. Couldn't get any shots, of course. Timmy Allen wasn't making every single mid-range that he took. Trey Mitchell didn't bank in any threes, but I think the more serious story coming out of this game is Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. Horrible injury. So sad to see that. I hope he recovers quickly. But in the grand scheme of things, you certainly have to think that Baylor's upside is very much capped after this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what they do with that 5 position because
they're gonna have to play Thamba the entire time, and then maybe play
Meyer at the 5 or even
Kendall Brown at the 5. They'll probably play 4 guards the entire time.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Oklahoma State in a really shocking game smacks West Virginia 81-58. West Virginia did have Taz Sherman, but he didn't have a Taz Sherman-esque game. So, I mean, of course, Oklahoma State's going to have a game where they shoot super well right before they're coming into us so they can build some confidence. What do you say about this game? West Virginia, it was the perfect time for them to have a game. You get your star back. It was the perfect timing for them to start playing well again, and they just didn't show up.
Yeah, West Virginia just struggles. Their bigs are awful. Probably the worst bigs in the Big 12 from what I've seen. Maybe K-State could give them a challenge with that, but their bigs have just been atrocious, and they have no inside presence. So really hard to win games when you're giving up so many easy shots.
Yeah, and on the topic of K-State, they go to Ames, Iowa, and come back from like 10 or so down to take down Iowa State in overtime, 75-69. Marquise Noel with a huge shot in the corner to send it to overtime, I believe. And Nigel Pack again, he's a stud. He's really, really good. And again, I don't like K-State. You know, I'm not a K-State fan, but they're fun to watch because Nigel Pack just makes everything. And I'm scared because we play them in Allen Fieldhouse, and K-State hasn't won there in forever. But I feel like Nigel Pack is bound to have a game again where he goes 6 for 6 from 3, and and it would not be a good loss for Kansas if they were to do that on their home floor. So they better be ready for that game.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how we guard them because K-State's been playing 5 guards mostly with Mark Smith at the 5. And so we may see a lot of KJ that game, or Clemence, or somebody of that nature if we're having trouble guarding the.
But then again, David would probably feast over a guard like Sultan Miguel. To be honest, he'd destroy Sultan Miguel or Masood if they're trying to play him at the 5, because Iowa State has a garbage center who is never going to hurt them in the paint. Around the NCAA, number 1 Auburn bounces back from their loss against Arkansas to beat Texas A&M 75-58. Not much of a surprise. Number 2 Gonzaga takes down number 22 St. Mary's 74-58. We did in the pick'em have a stipulation that you would get a point if you predicted, and I think I actually counted it as a point. So we were both wrong, so I'm gonna subtract a loss. It was more you get a point if you get it right. So we had a bonus if Gonzaga beat St. Mary's by 20, and they didn't. It was only 16. I watched the game. Gonzaga really didn't play very well. Only scored 74 points against St. Mary's when you have an obvious athleticism and height advantage. I still think Gonzaga is good. Rajier Bolton's great. Chet Holmgren's great. Drew Timmy's great. Salas played pretty decent. But my opinions on the WCC didn't change after yesterday. So number 3, Purdue escapes Maryland 62-61 after being down almost the entire game. They come back, and after a really weird clock operation stoppage, they tried to throw a pass to someone else in the inbounds, and the ref told them they couldn't do it. Maryland, lot of contact on the shot, but the rest probably thought he was straight up, and Purdue gets the win. I don't know if you watched the Purdue-Illinois game, but there was that thing where the shot clock, when it got down like under like 2 or 3 seconds, the shot clock would run down from like 24 or something like that. It was so weird. Like you know how in the NBA they show decimals? I wonder if that's it. But it's very confusing and very annoying that Mackey does that. And I felt like the clock almost losing them the game would have been perfect karma, because it's just like, why are you doing that? Just make it show single digits like normal. But I thought it would have been perfect karma if the clock was the one to lose them the game. But Purdue,
that's hilarious. Well, it's it's the loudest stadium in college basketball.
Oh my gosh, maybe once every 5 years. But Purdue, I'll tell you right now, they're not winning a national championship. They might go to a Final Four, but they're not winning a national championship because they have, as a strictly offensive team, they have too many games where they just, sorry, Stormy, my cat loves jumping up on the desk. They have too many games where they just don't make shots. And if you're an offensive team, you better be making shots every game or you're not going to win, because they can't defend worth a lick. And you saw they can lose to teams with losing records when they're not making shots. So I think Purdue might make the Final Four. It's very possible because, I mean, the Devontae Graham team did it, and they played very similar to Purdue does this year, but they're not winning a championship.
I agree.
All right. Number 4, Arizona takes down Mickey Mouse Washington 92-68. Nothing to see here. Kentucky beats Florida 78-57. Ty Washington did look like some kind of knee injury in the middle of the game, but Coach Cal said he was day-to-day. I think Kentucky's playing like the best team in the nation.
Yeah, Kentucky's playing great. They have five starters average double digits. That is impressive
Mm-hmm.
for a team. I just don't see how they lose right now
Mm-hmm.
with how they're playing and,
Injuries.
getting every rebound. I mean, injuries could play into that,
They're
obviously
they're
now.
gonna. I'll tell you what. They could win a national championship, but if they lose in the tournament, it'll because they have a KU-esque game and just don't make any
Right,
shots, and the other team is just
right,
on fire. That's
right.
that's how Kentucky loses in the tournament.
Yeah, I do have Kentucky losing this week though if Ty doesn't play versus Tennessee,
Right.
because they do travel to Tennessee, and I feel like they haven't been challenged in a while, so they'll be a little rusty.
Right. Memphis takes down Houston 69-59. Ugh.
Called
Another
it.
bad loss for Houston. And yeah, it was a great pick. Gosh, I feel bad for Houston almost because it's like they came in and they were number 6 and they were trying to prove to people that, hey, just because we play in a crap conference doesn't mean we're a crap team. But then they dropped 2 straight to teams that are barely 500. Not a great look. So, I mean, what do you say? Number 7 Duke takes down Boston College 72-61. Nothing to see there. Providence beats DePaul 76-73 in a nail biter. Teams like good teams have close games like that, like we did against Oklahoma. I still think Providence is pretty good. 21 USC beats UCLA at USC 67-64. I still think UCLA is a good team. I think they've had some rotten luck recently. I think they could easily make the Final Four.
Yeah, the problem with UCLA is just they have no bench. They bring a couple guys that can give you a little bit, but other than that, I mean, their guys are playing crazy minutes. So
yeah,
it's hard to win when you're playing. You get wore out at the end of the games and lose. So which they've done. So
yeah. And I would not want to play UCLA if I was KU. There's a lot of shooters on that team. They don't play amazing defense, but they play decent enough defense. That's not a team I would really want to play in the Sweet 16.
I think I'd rather play UCLA than Arizona, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would rather play UCLA than Arizona. But the thing about Arizona is they run a lot, and that's been kind of their trademark this year. That's helped win them games. KU will be able to match that pretty easily because they play pretty good transition defense. So that could neutralize Arizona's biggest strength. Rutgers, who seems to be the team that upsets every team at the top of the Big Ten, beats 14 Wisconsin 73-65. Big Ten. Yeah. I have no idea how good they are.
Weird. Yeah. Just like last year.
15 Villanova gets right against Seton Hall 73-67. Kind of knew Villanova was going to win this game. I think they'll be right in it near the end. A less than 500 Butler team takes down Shaka Smart's Marquette team 85-79. Peak Shaka Smart to have some momentum going your way, and then you just drop a bunch of games to garbage teams.
Yep. Kind of miss playing him.
Yeah. Other than last year when he swept us, and when we also didn't get to see the rubber match, or didn't get to see the third game because it got canceled right as I pulled into your driveway and we were about to go to Kansas City. I'm gonna kill myself. So Oklahoma State 12-12 on the year, 5-7 in the conference, which is really a pretty good record considering the strength of the conference. They've played well. They smacked West Virginia, who I think is a pretty decent team. In terms of their strengths, they create havoc a lot. They steal a lot of extra possessions. 23.8% turnover percentage on defense, which is 16th nationally. They rebound the ball on the offensive end really well. They are very strong and athletic, 32.6%, 44th nationally. And as we said, they're very athletic, they're very long, and they're very strong. So KU will have to play bigger than they are. In terms of weaknesses, their offense in general. Their offense is horrible. They shoot 48.6% effective field goal percentage, which is 236, which I think is also evident that they're not able to get easy shots. So they're not able to kind of get the ball down into the paint and get close shots. They give the ball away a lot. They're at 21% turnover percentage, which is 313th in the nation. So they're just a little bit worse than Oklahoma, and Oklahoma did a good job not turning the ball over. So that's something. If Oklahoma State turns the ball over, they have no shot. 3-point shooting, they're one of the worst in the nation at 30%, 325th nationally. They were 3 of 13 against West Virginia, and they still won by 23. So they're probably, I say now, probably not going to beat you from behind the arc. And they're also a very bad free throw shooting team. They're shooting 67% on the year, which is 311th nationally. Tell me about some of the impact players for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so they have, let's see here. So Avery Anderson's our leading scorer. He's went off a couple games this year. He averages 11.4 rebounds. He's shooting about 34.2 from 3, which is almost their best mark, I believe, on their team that actually sees significant minutes. So he may be one to watch for on the 3-point line. The ex-Jayhawker Bryce Thompson, Burger Boy, I don't know how, has really he has been doing pretty good though in the Big 12 conference, averaging 10 points a game, really doing nothing else besides scoring though. I mean, he doesn't add any assists or really rebounds. I think he averages 2 there, but really
he's pretty much slashes. He just slashes. Like he tries to go around people and shoot floaters in mid-range.
Yep, mid-range. So that's how he scores. He can hit an occasional corner 3, as we saw at KU, but just a really awkward looking shot still. Then you have Bryce
to get off.
Yep. Then you have Bryce Williams, who is very similar player to Avery Anderson, in my opinion. Averages 9.7, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting 27.4 3-point from the 3-point line. So pretty similar to Avery there. Maybe a little less on 3, but still playing pretty good. Then you have Isaac Likely, who's been here for 45 years and has beat the Jayhawks multiple times. He's only averaged 7.6 points per game, but he's a rebounder. He gets a lot of offensive boards because he's so strong. Leads them in assists 3.7. And you know what's crazy is I remember a time when he hit a game-winning game-winning 3-pointer versus us, and now he's shooting 11% from the 3-point line. That's abysmal. He's going to hit another one versus us somehow this year. Hopefully it's not meaningful though.
Yeah, I mean that was such a ridiculous. KU battled all the way back, and then he made a 3-pointer to take the lead. Just awful, just terrible. So in the end, I think Kansas is due to have a better defensive game this time around. I think Oklahoma's offense is just pitiful. They had a pretty good game at Oklahoma State. They didn't score for like 10 minutes, but they still got the win. I think KU is going to win this one pretty well. I have the final score at 75-60. I think Oklahoma State's really going to struggle to score unless they just but unless they come in just red hot. I think they're really going to struggle to score. I could see this one being close, but I just struggle to see KU having 2 off games in a row at Allen Fieldhouse. So I'm going to take the Jayhawks to win 75-60.
Yeah, it was a really weird game for the Hawks. I felt like they weren't turned up. They were playing really lackadaisical. Really, no energy, especially in that first half. They brought it in the second, but I have a hard. They usually don't do that 2 games in a row. I think they'll come out and be ready for the game ahead of them, ready to play. And I have them 77-63.
Yeah. And I also think when you're coming from a Saturday to Monday game, I think being the home team matters a lot. And I think being the more talented team matters a lot. And Bill Self is like has a ridiculous record on Big Monday in Allen Fieldhouse. I think he's undefeated. So I just don't see Oklahoma State winning this game. I think I just feel good about this one. Pick 'em. Parker is 19-12 on the year. That's pretty good. And I'm 17-14. I need to pick it up a little bit. I've been picking a lot of upsets lately. First up, we don't have a ton of games to pick because there's just not a lot of great top 25 matchups. Wake Forest at number 7 Duke. Who you got?
I have Duke in this. they've lost at home last time. I don't see them coming out and losing at home again this week.
Mhm.
So
I agree. I have Duke. Number 15, Villanova at Providence. Providence getting a lot of buzz from the college basketball community.
yeah, I have Villanova here just because they're a little, Villanova's a traditionally better team. Providence is starting to get some buzz. They don't know how to handle that. They almost lost last week. I think they're kind of due here this week, and Villanova might have enough firepower to do it. Although it'll be interesting to see if Villanova loses, they may drop out of the top 20.
Yeah, I think that I think Providence is going to be ready for this game. They have a good year every so often, and when you're coming to play on their home floor, they're going to be ready. So I'm going to go with the Friars. I just feel like they're going to be really ready for this game. Away from home, a chance to cement yourself at the top of the Big East standings. I think they're going to take this one home. Number 5, Kentucky at number 19, Tennessee. Ty Washington is day to day. Not sure if he'll play right now, but I'm going to assume he's not.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm going to take Tennessee, just assuming that he's not. They still have a really good team without him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game either. But without him, it kind of ruins a little bit of their rhythm. And they're kind of due for one as well, I think. Even if they lose this, though, I still think they're top 2, top 3 in the nation right now.
Yeah, give me the Volunteers. I like them at home. I think they're going to be turned up to play this game as well. The big thing is, does it impact seed line? I'm not really sure. I think you only get one seed out of the SEC. I don't think you get 2. So I think it depends on who's going to win their conference tournament. If it's going to be Kentucky or Auburn, I think they're basically going to be playing for a 1 seed in that game. But yeah, give me Tennessee. 14, Wisconsin at Indiana. Wisconsin may be one of the streakiest up and down teams in the entire country.
Yeah, Wisconsin's a weird team. Indiana has not been impressive this year. I have Wisconsin.
Yep, I like Wisconsin as well. West Virginia at Kansas State. Parker, are you going to stop your disrespect of the Kansas State Wildcats? Or the Kansas State Wild Packs, because Nigel Pack is their only player?
Right. I've just not been impressed with West Virginia as of late. I'm going to pick Kansas State here. I don't think, Kansas State can get really hurt inside because their bigs can't guard. Well, West Virginia doesn't have bigs either. I think Kansas State's guards are playing better than West Virginia's right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like Kansas State. I think Kansas State is going to dominate that game. Red River rivalry, number 20 Texas at Oklahoma in Norman. Who you got?
This one was really this is a really big toss up in my mind. You could really go either way. I'm gonna go Texas just because they were able to beat us and OU wasn't. I know we were at Texas and everything, but I think Texas is overall the better team, like as far as
definitely have better
goes.
players.
Better players. OU though, if they're hitting threes, they could definitely win this game as well, but I'm going to go Texas.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how Tanner Groves does against Trey Mitchell and Timmy Allen and all that. If Tanner Groves can have a pretty decent game, I think OU stands a decent chance to win. They've been playing really good ball the last couple of weeks on both ends. So I like Oklahoma to win this game. Iowa State at TCU. Iowa State, man.
Iowa State's been awful. They're not a tournament team at this point. They're going to have to pull out some big wins here down the stretch to get in because they've just been awful in Big 12, which what a lot of people were afraid of, that they were going to be this great team that was ranked in the top 15 at one point. And then they just completely dropped off the map. Their offense is awful. Give me TCU.
Yeah. And I think TCU is actually good. I think they're a good team. They were putting the hurt on Texas Tech for about 15 minutes, but I think they have some guys. So I'm going to take TCU in this one. I'm a little nervous about the game that KU plays against them, but we'll get to that when we come to it. But probably the game of the week in the Big 12, number 10 Baylor at number 9 Tech. The Jayhawks really need the Red Raiders to win this game. Parker, who you taking?
I'm going to take Baylor.
What? You're
Yep.
going against your squad?
I wish I could pick Tech in this. I think Baylor's starting to get their rhythm back a little bit. I think they're going to be better prepared than they were last time, and I think they'll get Tech.
No, Bryson Williams is going to feast. He is going to feast on the horrible Baylor bigs. I'm telling you, he's going to get to the line. He's going to make threes. He's going to put the shakes on him. He's going to, and this is in Lubbock. And I know they were turned up for that Texas game, but they'll be turned up for this game too. And I would not be surprised if Texas Tech makes a ton of threes in this game. I think Baylor might be a tad shell-shocked in the first half. And I think Tech will probably go into the half with a double-digit lead. That's my thought. I could be completely wrong. I think Tech, I'm going to go out and say I think Tech is the better team. I think especially with no Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. I struggle to see how Baylor is going to defend Bryson Williams and defend the paint with only one big guy. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and if Kansas can win at home, all they need to do is win at home, and that probably locks up the conference for them. So
as long as Baylor doesn't win versus Tech, and then beat us, then we're down. But
yeah, if Tech wins, that gives KU a 2-game lead, so they can lose. They can still lose 2 games. They can lose 1 to Baylor, and they can lose 1 to someone else, and still share the conference title. But I don't know. I like Tech this year. Tech is good. I think it's just so hard because I want to take Baylor and I want to say that they'll come in and win this game, but Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua is a bigger loss than I think most people realize.
I agree.
But that is it for our podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully Kansas can get this win against a team Bill Self has historically struggled against. And we hope that you will join us in the next podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you see when our new episodes come out, and hit like on the video if you like our content. I am Lane Stanberry.
And I'm Parker Titus.
Let's get this dub on Big Monday.